New York State lawmakers passing their annual budget overnight. The $168 billion spending plan, about $15 billion more than last year's budget. But lawmakers say a self-imposed 2% spending cap actually closed the state's projected $4.5 billion budget deficit. Now, Channel 2's Erica Brecker joining us now. She's breaking down some of the key elements of this budget. Erica?
Ron, the good news is that this budget stays within that legislature's self-imposed 2% spending cap, and it was passed on time. But of course, not everyone gets what they want out of it. Here are some of the 2019 budget's key elements, along with what some of our local lawmakers have to say about it.
More money for education. This spending bill puts an additional $1 billion towards schools, bringing education aid up to $26.7 billion. The budget should also help residents retain their state and local tax deductibility, including the optional payroll tax model for employers. This combats the federal tax reform that stands to hurt a lot of New Yorkers, something Governor Andrew Cuomo has been vocal about.
Their federal tax reform bill, that SALT Act, was an arrow aimed at the economic heart of the state of New York.
This one's good for Western New York. The legislature also worked to restore historic and brownfield credits, which were at risk of being deferred for several years.
You've seen the big projects, whether it's the Lafayette Hotel or some of the downtown loft buildings. The Western New York development community responded very quickly, and we figured out that a lot of the projects that are moving Buffalo forward would not be feasible if those changes were made.
And while there's a general agreement on both sides of the aisle that it's a decent budget, some Republican critics know where they'd like to see improvements.
There's over $1 billion in undesignated funds that the majorities in both houses and the governor can spend at will on any kind of pork barrel projects that they want to spend it on.
I would like to see spending cut a little more. I would have liked to see, more tax relief, as I said, for business, so they can provide, jobs and economic opportunity for all of us.
Finally, the budget includes Cuomo's proposal to charge opioid manufacturers a fee that would raise $100 million for combating addiction in New York State. However, Empire Center, an independent nonprofit think tank, points out that the budget does not increase drug treatment spending by that same amount. So where specifically does all that money go?
And only about 10% of that is going to go to fight addiction and the opioid crisis. The rest of it's going to get swept into the general fund. That's not where that money should be going.
The budget also sets forth a uniform sexual harassment policy for all state employees, and within that is a new provision prohibiting secret settlements with state officials, so that will hold public figures more accountable for their actions. Erica Brecker, Channel 2 News.